I know this is Memorial Day, but today also marks the 20th anniversary of one of the most spectacular climbing disasters ever on Mount Hood. I was there in Sky 8, our news helicopter, watching the rescue effort for climbers who had fallen high up on the mountain. And I watched as the rescue helicopter suddenly crashed. It's a moment that I and many others will never forget.
God, I can't believe it's been 20 years. It does. I don't know, there's part of me that wants to say it seems like it was yesterday, and then there's part of me that's like, God, that was so long ago and whatnot, but...
20 years ago, Steve Rollins from Portland Mountain Rescue led an effort on Mount Hood that he'll never forget. Thursday, May 30th, 2002, dawned a bright, beautiful day, perfect for climbing Mount Hood. Several climbers were on the south side of the mountain that morning, around 10,900 feet. It's the most popular route for climbers. Around 9 a.m., some groups were on their way down from the top, others still going up. Many were above the crevasse, which opens each spring, called a bergschrund. It had a snow bridge across it. A team of 4 men roped together were on their way down. The sheriff's office reported one of the men lost their footing and fell, pulling the other 3 down, even as they tried to stop themselves. The 4 hit 2 other men climbing up and also roped together, and they too began tumbling down the mountain. The 6 hit 3 other climbers also on their way up and also roped together, and all 9 fell into the 50-foot wide, 20-foot deep crevasse. 3 men died: Bill Ward, Rick Reed, and John Biggs. 4 others were critically hurt. Rollins and many others rushed to the mountain to help.
And I just remember the chaos. Like, we were scrambling to keep up with the helicopters. The helicopters were coming in almost on top of each other.
The helicopters were from the Oregon National Guard. They airlifted 2 injured climbers to safety. Another helicopter from the Air Force, a Pavehawk, was there as well at Timberline's parking lot. It was going to fly a pararescue crew partway up the mountain, and then they would climb the rest of the way to the rescue scene. But as they prepared, the crew got word a hurt climber at the crevasse was on the edge of death. Brent Dicely was the Air Force pilot at the controls. I talked with him in 2012. It's the only TV interview he's done. He and his crew knew their heavy helicopter would be on the edge of its safety limit that high on the mountain. They decided to go for it anyway.
That's what we were doing that day on the mountain. You know, we were right at the edge of our operating capability.
And most of the time,
yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, most of the time. And unfortunately, that day, Mother Nature had other plans for us, and I guess the video shows the rest.
Oh, brother, does it ever.
We have live team coverage this afternoon.
I was reporting on the rescue effort from Sky 8, our helicopter. We were live on the air waiting for a rescue basket to be lowered to the crevasse. Suddenly, the wind shifted from the front of the chopper to the back, and it lost lift. Without lift, helicopters cannot fly.
Look out, guys. There we are talking about things going wrong. Hang on, fellas. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that is horrible.
Dicely, the pilot,
I realized I don't have control of that helicopter anymore.
Made a split-second decision to fly away from the crevasse.
When you see the tail bobble and then the tail swing, that's basically when I knew things were going south.
You had said earlier you could have avoided the crash, right?
We could have avoided the crash and come down, but beneath us are 20-odd people below us, so then you're in worse condition. So rather than have a huge tragedy there, I chose to take it down the mountain and try to get away from the folks.
Oh God, here we go.
Remember the pararescue team? They were still in the back of the helicopter.
There's Martin. Yeah, Martin's out. Now he got chopped, and then there's me.
10 years ago, they watched the video again to share what it was like. Andrew Canfield stood in the back of the helicopter, harnessed in, ready to get the patient. The mountain was so close.
Yeah, I was gonna jump out.
You're gonna jump out.
As soon as it started kind of like wobbling and moving around, yeah, that was my first thought. I was like, I'm out.
He unclipped his safety harness, but in an instant the jump was much too far. As the chopper began to roll, he grabbed onto fellow PJ Darren Shore, who later became a firefighter.
I could see gear, packs, snow, all kind of churning around. And I use the sock and a dryer analogy for that one.
Round and round they went.
I had this really elaborate plan where I was going to grab onto something and kind of shimmy up and jump out the door as, it rotated around. Never worked out.
Physics eventually shot Canfield out of the helicopter.
As we started to roll, the centrifugal force increased, and I kind of got outstretched, until I just couldn't hang on anymore, and that's when I, popped and it ejected me out of the aircraft.
That's him in the circle. It was almost like a scene from a movie.
When I got ejected from the helicopter, I felt like, oh, thank God, I'm free of the helicopter. I'm going to be okay. Just an instant after that, I realized that I was downhill from the helicopter and that it was overtaking me. I rolled like 8 times before it rolled over me.
Incredibly, the soft snow allowed him to survive. The engine cover burned him, and he had back and neck injuries. Shore had a broken leg and broken ribs and also survived, and a third PJ survived as well. The helicopter rolled 8 times before stopping. Despite the many people nearby, the shattering blades did not hit anyone. Later, the Air Force lifted that crashed Pavehawk off the mountain and eventually put it back in service. 20 years later, it's still a tragedy for the families of those who died on Mount Hood, and a day the many rescue crews will never forget.
That's something that I'll remember to the day I die.
It is amazing that no one died in the chopper crash. The Air Force did rebuild that chopper, and it flew combat missions in Afghanistan, and then it was finally shot down in 2010. The pilot who was at the controls during the Mount Hood crash has since retired from the Air Force and now flies for Federal Express. I was able to catch up with him, but he was not interested in an on-camera interview. And then late today, just a little bit ago on the phone, I talked with Martin Mills. He was the flight engineer in the back of the chopper, and I heard his amazing story. He was attached to some webbing called a gunner's belt and was trapped half in and half out of the helicopter as it rolled over him 4 times. He's still living with pain as a result of that day 20 years ago. We'll be adding him to our story at kgw.com. You should go check it out.